Family is everything, and this is one truth that 22-time Grand Slam winner Rafael Nadal has held close to his heart. In fact, the one time his family had some sort of an issue, it affected his output on the court. But who exactly are these guys? Let's meet the family of the Clay King. And first, we need to start with none other than the uncle who's had a profound effect on his life. His uncle, Toni Nadal. Nadal wasn't born into the most athletic family, as you'll see later in this video. His immediate family members had other interests besides sports. Luckily for Nadal though, some of his uncles from his dad's side had athletic blood in them, and one of them was none other than Toni Nadal, a man who would end up coaching the star for many years. Now, Toni Nadal was no ordinary man. In fact, when Nadal speaks about him, Toni sounds more like a philosopher than your conventional coach. And all of that philosophy comes from a deep place of passion. You see, when Toni was still a young man trying to find his feet in the world, he played ping pong and tennis. Toni even managed to become a ping pong champion in the Balearic Islands competition, and he ended up in the top 30 Spanish tennis players. But the man never had his sights on being the best in the game. Instead, he focused his attention on history and philosophy, even going as far as studying history at university. When Toni Nadal agreed to coach Rafael, he told his young nephew that he would only do this on his own terms. For starters, he warned the young player that if he ever threw a racket in anger due to game frustration, that would immediately mark the end of their coach-player relationship. Toni explained that this was not just a disrespect to your opponent and the game, but to every fan watching you play, and every fan who couldn't afford a racket. To improve Nadal's mindset and playing skills, Toni would make the young player practice on terrible courts with bad tennis balls. While this must have been a difficult training process, Toni believed that it helped Rafael understand the process of winning and losing, and how your discipline, mindset, and the right attitude affect the game as a whole. But it didn't end there. Right after the difficult lessons, Toni made sure that Rafael cleaned the court immediately. Kinda makes you wonder, how did a young Rafael Nadal not get tired and ask for a new coach? This proves that the guy must have had a great deal of discipline himself. It wasn't long before Rafael Nadal got older and began winning, and this was where his father had to step in. His father thought that since he was making more money now, it was time to give his uncle and coach a certain percentage of his earnings. But Toni Nadal refused this, saying that this would make him no longer the boss. He further explained that his words would no longer be as heavy as they used to be when his nephew begins to pay him. If that's not smart thinking, then I don't know what is. At the end of the day, after 16 major trophies, Toni Nadal would step down from coaching. But we all know that his lessons for Rafael will stick with him forever. His parents. Remember how I said that even though Rafael's family had a sports background, well, his immediate family didn't? Nadal's father, Sebastian Nadal Homer, is a businessman who runs a successful window and glass company known as Vidres Mallorca. His father also manages a restaurant named Sapunta, which he has been managing with the rest of the family, except Rafael, of course, who had to focus on doing what he did best, destroying people on the court. Even though Sebastian Nadal wasn't in the sports scene, he always supported his son's dream to become a sports star. In fact, it was the decision of everyone in the family to have Toni coach a young Rafael, because he had the perfect blend of game understanding and philosophy. Rafael's mother, Ana Maria Pereira, has also been a principal part of his life. Born in 1963 to Pedro Pereira and Catalina Femenias, Ana decided to go into the profitable world of business and perfumes, before finally meeting Sebastian Nadal. And as soon as she did, she said goodbye to the world of work and instead focused on building her family and raising her children. From everything you've heard, you can instantly tell that Ana is not one for the spotlight. But a few years back, she granted an exclusive interview where she gave a few insights into the life of Rafael. She mentioned that her son was a very sensitive and loving individual, and he hated darkness so much that he always sleeps with the light on. Rafa's sensitive side will soon be on display for the entire world to see when his parents separated in 2009. This was a trying period for him, as he'd later reveal in his memoir, Rafa, My Story, explaining that this period didn't just affect him mentally, it also affected several parts of his game. It was this same year that he lost the French Open, which was the only year he didn't win it between 2005 and 2014. While Rafa's team refused to comment on the connection between the separation and the defeat, the media thought that these were no doubt connected. In his memoir, he wrote, "They were the mainstay of my life, and that pillar had crumbled. I was depressed. I lacked enthusiasm. I had lost all love for life." Fortunately, his parents reunited back in 2011, and it's been nothing but roses since then. His other uncle, Miguel Ángel Nadal. Speaking about the athleticism in Rafa's family would be incomplete without mentioning Miguel Ángel, who was a football player that began and ended his career with Mallorca. However, his most successful playing days were with Barcelona, where he played over 200 matches. Miguel, nicknamed the Beast, played as a versatile defender and midfielder, and was a part of the Barcelona Dream Team. This team won a number of local and international titles, making the Beast one of the most decorated Spaniards of his time. He's also got a pretty decent record representing Spain in international competitions, playing in 3 different World Cups and the Euro '96 Cup. His sister, Maria Isabel Nadal. Every guy with a sister knows one thing: growing up with a sister isn't always the perfect experience. In fact, some boys take certain joys in pranking their sisters, or just making life a little bit more difficult for them. But it's all from a place of love, right? Well, things are a little different with Rafa and his sister, Maria Isabel, who is 5 years younger than he is. Rafa and his sister have shared a close relationship for the longest time, and even though he is now one of the greatest tennis players in the history of the game, the two still manage to maintain a close relationship. In her own words, Maria Isabel writes in Rafa's memoir, "Most boys growing up see their younger sisters as irritations, especially when they're teenagers, but that has never been the way Rafael has treated me. He's always urged me to come along when he goes out with his friends. It's natural to us, even if others might sometimes find it strange, and it's part of the secret of our special bond." Here's a lesson for all the older brothers with sisters watching this video. His wife, Maria Francisca Parello, and his child, Rafael Jr. We've dwelled well enough on the family Rafa grew up with. How about we talk about the one he's created for himself? And the only perfect way to get started would be the love story between Rafa and his sweetheart, Maria Francisca Parello, aka Mary Chisca Parello. Rafa and Mary got married in 2019, after the star proposed during a holiday in Rome. But this love story has been in the works since 2005, as the pair dated for 14 years before finally tying the knot. Despite this long romance, Rafa has managed to keep Mary away from the spotlight, and only little is known of this long-term sweetheart. But trust that the internet was able to dig up some important information about his wife. For starters, she comes from Mallorca, the same place she met and married Rafael Nadal. And according to her LinkedIn profile, she was a student of the University of the Balearic Islands between 2006 and 2010, eventually graduating with an undergraduate degree in business management. Her profile further showed that she attended ESAID Business School in Barcelona for her postgraduate studies. In regards to how she makes her money, Mary Parello used to work as a sports marketer in London. But ever since things got really serious with her husband, she's moved to working as a project director for the Rafa Nadal Foundation. And things have only gotten better since then. In October 2022, the couple welcomed their first child, a baby boy, Rafael Nadal Parello, who was born in a clinic in Mallorca. Even though Rafa has always been big on privacy, he had earlier announced in June 2022 during a press conference that if all goes well, he was going to be a father. But trust Rafa not to even release a baby bump picture with his wife. But will being a father affect how the tennis star sees the game? He doesn't think so. He says, "I don't know what will change in my life because I don't have experience, but I don't think it will change my professional life." Interestingly, Rafa also sees himself having more children in the future. "I would love to have children, boys, girls. I'm a person who loves kids. And I'm a family guy. But also, I tell you that the reality is, the years keep passing. I would like to start to do all of this when my sporting life determines it." He said in an interview with The Sun, "I think it's also above all about looking after the kids. I don't know if traveling throughout the year and having children is ideal. Rafa has somehow managed to do what most sports stars haven't been able to, show that his family is a huge part of his success, but also find a way to shield them from the flashbulbs of the paparazzi. The perfect family guy, right? Let us know what you think about Rafa and his family in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to learn more interesting things about your favorite tennis players.